Hey everybody, this is my 125 gallon native tank, and tonight's project is not going to be a difficult one. If you'll notice in the back corner I've got the air stone and it is barely putting any air out. I honestly probably don't need the air stone in this tank, but being that these are all river fish and they generally come from colder water, that basically sets the stage for them all being used to reasonably high oxygen levels. So I've got a lot of water circulation going on in the tank. That's a 1500 gallon per hour Powerhead, although at the moment I'm sure it's clogged up enough that it's not really moving that much water. And then of course the filter at full nominal is 525 gallons an hour, I believe, but again, we're probably nowhere near that. But between the two of them, I've got probably easily 1,000 gallons an hour swirling around this tank. So no issue with the water circulation. I've also got an additional 280 gallon per hour Powerhead just giving me some surface agitation, not because I feel I need it, but I like to see the ripply, sparkly effect in the water from the ripples on the surface. At any rate, we're going to get in there and we're going to replace that air stone, and I'm probably going to either use my hand or maybe just get a little bottle brush or something in there and clean off the grates. If you can tell, it's got all that sort of reddish growth on there, and that'll impede the flow of water through the grill, and therefore it'll reduce the amount of water that's moving around the tank. So some people will tell you that you can clean air stones. I think you can soak them in vinegar or soak them in hydrogen peroxide overnight. I don't know what the actual remedy for doing that is, so don't use either of those suggestions as actual suggestions. I was just saying stuff off the top of my head. But people say there are ways to clean your air stone. Personally, I think since you can buy like a 10-pack of regular air stones for a few dollars, I don't see the point. So I never have bothered. These are actually really nice air stones. I got a 4-pack of them. Oh, I don't even know how much they cost. Probably about $10 or something. But they're fairly thick, and they produce a lot of bubbles in a really nice, fine stream for being a very small air stone. It's not like a long bar through the tank that creates all of this air bubbles. It's one spot, and there's a bunch of very fine bubbles. If I've got to have bubbles in the tank, I want them to be fine rather than big, giant, bloop bloop kind of bubbles. So give me one moment. Not going to do any kind of elaborate editing or anything. Just going to put you on pause here for a couple seconds. And there's your difference. Now that took a little longer than I was hoping it would, but mainly because the first air stone I tried, the bubbles were coming out all around the fitting where the, not where the hose connects to the plastic, but where the actual plastic went into the stone. I don't know if maybe the bag had gotten dropped and that for some reason was allowing the air to escape right around the plastic fitting. But I was getting a lot of bubbles. Now that's the old one that was in there, and you can see the crud that's on there. So maybe I'll look at some videos about how to clean these, and I'll give it a shot just for something to do, just so I can shoot a video about it and tell you about my experience. But this one is the one that the bubbles were just gushing out all around the piece of plastic there, and maybe, that far down the stone, a half an inch, quarter inch down the stone, there were some bubbles, but all that much of the stone was just dry underwater. There was no bubbles or anything coming out of it. So we popped that one back out, and we've got that one going now, and I position it near the Powerhead so we get all of that. And that gives me a tremendous amount of gas exchange in this tank. So as much as I hate bubbles in a tank, with this being a native tank, I just sort of tell myself that that's like where a waterfall's flowing in to the, if you ever stuck your head underwater in a little, pool where a waterfall's feeding in, that's pretty much what it's going to look like. A lot of bubbles rushing in, little rapids flowing into the stream or something, and you can see the fish really enjoy getting in front of that Powerhead. I spent so much time fiddling around with the airstone that I never got a chance to clean the power head off because I was afraid my camera was going to unpause or stop recording or whatever. So let me put you back on pause, and I'm going to get a brush in there real quick, and we'll see if we can get a little bit more dispersion of those air bubbles. So hang on one more moment. Alright, well, this is turning out to be more of a video than I thought it was going to be, and more of a project than I thought it was going to be. The inside of the power head is just all filled with gunk. I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit here. Now, not the reddish stuff to the right, but if you look to the grate on the back part, you're actually looking right through the grate there, and all that sort of tan, brown stuff, that's gunk inside the power head. That's all wrapped around the impeller in there. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that off. If you'll notice right there on the top dead center is a little clip, so the whole front part of that comes off, and then of course the impeller comes out, and you know, it just simply pulls it apart. I'm going to clean it off and then put it back together. So apparently this is going to be a little more involved of a video. I will have to edit this together a little bit, but that's okay. Sit tight. There's your before, and there's your after. So that makes a huge difference. It was really gummed up inside. The impeller itself wasn't being impeded, but just the volume of water that was able to move through the inside there was, you know, reduced significantly. So the new airstone makes an enormous difference, and then you can see what that power head is doing. And you can see we've still got sideways current all the way down here, and that's where it's interfering with my spray bar, which is actually spraying down the glass in the back of the tank. So we've still got lateral movement, you know, sideways movement of the water all the way at this end of the tank, almost 6 feet away from that power head, competing with the downward flowing water coming out of that spray bar. So I'll put a link down below if you're interested in one of these power heads. It's a Corellia or a Hydor by Corellia. I'm not sure which one's the company and which one's the model, but I've got several of them, and I've got several different sizes. This is the biggest one I've got. It's 1,500 gallons per hour, but I've got all the way down to my smallest one is 280, maybe 240. It's been so long since I've bought them, I couldn't tell you. But I have them in most of my tanks. I really like them. They run forever. They're really quiet. And this one's been in there for a couple years. And I finally got in there and just did a little bit of maintenance as far as, I mean, just I popped it open, I cleaned it out, I rinsed it out, popped it back together, and it's now back in the tank. I did rotate it before I had it turned the other direction because, unfortunately, where the wire goes in is also where they have the shiny silver decal that tells you all the electrical information and all that stuff. So that always looked really ugly to me, so I had it rolled over kind of upside down and had the cord bent. But it's been in there so long now, the glue was kind of coming loose, and I was able to peel that sticker off. And now we've got the power head facing the correct direction. And again, you can really see how much water that thing moves. So there you go. That was my very quick, I was just going to pop an airstone out, pop an airstone back in video. Turned out to be a lot longer than usual, or a lot longer than I expected. But if you watch my videos regularly, you'll know that that's not unusual. So thanks again for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. Don't forget, this one here is my native tank. Got lots of stuff going on down here, and we'll get to it sooner or later. And if you're subscribed, you won't miss any of it. So thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.